The first time she said, "I don't take orders from people who shop at discount stores," the courtroom murmured. The second time she opened her mouth and the words came out, "Stop talking to me like we're on the same level." The entire room stopped breathing. You could feel it, the kind of silence that isn't just quiet, it's charged. Electric, waiting. Eva Kensington didn't feel it. She just crossed one designer-booted leg over the other and adjusted the cuff of her blazer like she was bored at a fashion show that was running late. 22 years old, born at the top of the food chain. Address Crest View Summit, the gated glass fortress on the hill, where garages are bigger than most people's houses, where you don't see mailboxes because nothing gets dropped off there without a gate code and a security scan. Her mother is Governor Rebecca Kensington. You know the name, you've seen the billboards, the campaign ads. The speeches about public safety, justice, accountability. There's a poster of her in the hallway outside this very courtroom. No one is above the law. The irony is almost too much to look at. "Miss Kensington," I said, trying very hard not to let 35 years of judicial experience turn into 35 seconds of temper, "take this very seriously. You are not on a talk show. You are not on your live stream. You are in a court of law." She gave me a smile she probably uses on PR people. "I am taking it seriously. Your Honor," she said, "I just think everybody's being a little dramatic about a speeding ticket." Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably, eyes dropping to his notes. "It was not a speeding ticket." The stack of papers in front of me proved that. "Let's read what Officer Delgado wrote," I said, tapping the first report, "because I don't make decisions based on followers or last names. I make them based on facts." I'd been on this bench long enough to see how privilege warps reality. I've watched store owners insist a kid from the projects looked threatening while security footage showed nothing but a teenager in a hoodie buying chips. I've watched parents convince themselves their angel could never have spray-painted slurs on a neighbor's fence even when the paint was literally still on their kid's hands, and I've seen this flavor too many times to count. The child of power, raised in a world where everything is curated, where consequences are a PR problem, not a real one. That's who was sitting in the defendant's chair, but I wasn't talking to her alone. I was talking to every other person watching this case in this city and now all over the internet who has started to believe that. Some people simply occupy a higher tier of humanity. On June 3, I read, at approximately 11:52 p.m., Officer Luis Delgado, badge number 2786, was conducting traffic enforcement on East River Parkway near the Oakmont pedestrian bridge. If you don't know that stretch of road, let me paint it for you. 4 lanes. 2 in each direction. Speed limit, 40. On the right, Oakmont Park, swing sets, walking trails, a bike path that stays busy way past sundown when the weather is warm. On the left, the new riverfront district, restaurants, bars, rooftop lounges, the place your kids beg to go and you secretly hope they're careful when they do. We have had, I continued, 3 pedestrian fatalities on that road in the last 5 years, all after dark, all involved speed. Officer Delgado sat in the front row, hands clasped around his hat, staring straight ahead. 9 years on the force, 2 commendations, 1 back surgery from a fall during a foot pursuit. He'd written his report in neat block letters. At 11:49 p.m. it said, "I observed a red Tesla Model S traveling westbound at a visibly high rate of speed. Radar reading 93 miles per hour in a posted 40 miles per hour zone, 93, on a road where people walk their dogs, where cyclists ride home from late shifts, where a drunk step off a curb wrong is all it takes." He initiated a stop, I said. Lights, siren, standard, pretty simple, should have been. But that's not what happened. The Tesla didn't pull over right away. Delgado's dash cam shows it. The lights flash behind her. The siren chirps. For half a mile, Ava's car continues, braking a little, then accelerating again like this is a negotiation. When she finally does pull to the side a full 75 seconds after the lights came on, Delgado approaches the vehicle the way we train officers to, cautious but courteous, flashlight low, hands visible, what the camera sees. As he reaches the driver's window is this: a young woman with perfect hair and perfect eyeliner, one hand on the wheel, the other held up, holding her phone pointed right at him. "Evening, ma'am," he says. "I'm Officer Delgado with City PD. Do you know why I stopped you?" "You tell me," she replies, glancing at the phone screen, not at him. 3, 2, 1, you're live. That's in the report too. Driver appeared to be broadcasting on social media platform, Delgado wrote. Phone was oriented toward my face. Her hand moves, on the video audio, between the road noise and the siren winding down. You hear her voice a little too bright. Hey guys, apparently I'm being pulled over. Let's see what tonight's episode of Bored Cop Harasses Citizen looks like. License and registration, please, Delgado says, staying on script like he hasn't just been turned into content. She laughs. To be clear, she says, still to the phone, I'm literally on my way home from a work event in a dress and heels, and this is happening. Then to him, like she's doing him a favor, in my bag, sure, he smells alcohol. He notes it. He also notes the half-empty champagne flute in the center console illegal, even if she swears her friend just left it there. He asks her to step out of the car. She rolls her eyes. There's nowhere to walk in these, she says, nodding at her shoes. You want me to twist my ankle for your little performance? Her tone changes then, just a trace, not scared, irritated. Do you know who I am? She asks. I know your name, he says. I still need you to step out. Oh, you know my mother's name too, she says, which is why you're doing all this, so you can say you pulled over the governor's daughter. Congratulations. Do I get a ribbon? She angles the phone back toward her own face. Guys, get this, she says. This man is shaking. I swear I could buy whatever he makes in a year with one brand deal. He doesn't respond to that. He sticks to the training. Ma'am, I'm asking you one more time, he says. Step out of the vehicle. That's where the transcript in front of me puts the next line in quotes, because in 9 years this is the one that burned into his memory. She looks him dead in the eye, right past the badge, past the uniform, and says, stop talking to me like you and I exist on the same level. In the gallery you could have heard a pin drop, because most people will never say something that naked out loud. They'll think it, they'll hint it, they'll imply it with what neighborhoods they call good and bad, but they won't say it. She did, on tape, on her live.to her followers. And now, in this courtroom, she sat as if she was the one who'd been wronged. By the time Officer Rivera's unit arrived as backup, things had already gone off the rails. Delgado had explained implied consent. He'd told Ava that by driving in this state she'd already agreed to submit to blood alcohol testing when there's probable cause. She'd laughed, said she'd call her lawyer, and repeated that line about not being on the same level. Rivera approached on the passenger side. Her report matches the video. I introduced myself, she wrote. I spoke in a calm, friendly tone. I told Miss Kensington we were concerned about her speed and needed to make sure she was safe to continue driving. She told me, and I recorded this verbatim as a woman, you should be on my side, not theirs. Why are you defending these people? These people, Rivera underlined in her supplement, referring to police officers. In her live stream edit later, Ava would cut that part. She'd overlay it with captions about being profiled, about feeling unsafe, about harassment. She'd make the officers sound louder, rougher, more aggressive than they were. She'd splice out her own sneers, her own slurs. But raw footage doesn't lie. On the tape, when Rivera gently opens the passenger door and repeats, ma'am, we need you to step out, please, Ava yanks her arm away, spilling the champagne flute, and shouts, don't touch me. You can't touch me. I swear, if you lay a hand on me, my mother will have your badge in 24 hours. It goes downhill from there. The leg that had been kicked up on the dash comes down, straight into Rivera's shin. Later in this courtroom, the defense would say she lost her balance. The bruise that shows up in the crime scene photos doesn't look like an accident. Neither does the string of obscenities that follows, nor the second time she spits out, stop acting like we're the same. When they finally manage to secure her in cuffs and guide her to the cruiser, she's still screaming about kidnapping, about false imprisonment, about small-town cops with power issues. If this were just about volume, we wouldn't be here. If this were just about bad language, a fine and a suspension might have done the job. It's not. It's about two things that can't coexist in a functioning justice system: the belief that the law applies to everyone, and the belief that some people are inherently above it. On the ride to booking, she keeps going. 12,000, she slurs at one point. That's what you make in 3 months. I'll tip that on a bar tab next week. She refuses the breathalyzer. She refuses the blood draw at the station. She demands her phone call, not because she's worried about her rights, but because she's worried her battery will die. Governor Kensington arrives at 4:10 a.m. The reports don't go into detail about that conversation. The booking supervisor's log only notes, defendant released on personal reconnaissance at 5:02 a.m. per protocol for we first offense, governor informed of pending charges. At the station, she demands her phone call, not because she's worried about her rights, but because she's worried her battery will die. Governor Kensington arrives at 4:10 a.m. The reports don't go into detail about that conversation. The booking supervisor's log only notes, defendant released on personal reconnaissance at 5:02 a.m. per protocol for we first offense, governor informed of pending charges. If the story had stopped there, this might have stayed a politically embarrassing but locally contained mess. It didn't. Within hours of walking out of the station, Ava did exactly what too many people with influence and no impulse control do. She went live. Her followers, 112,000 of them across platforms, woke up to a series of teary, shacking camera videos. "Guys," she began, eyes red, hair artfully messy. "I'm still shaking. I was literally just attacked by two cops in the middle of nowhere for literally doing nothing. They weren't in the middle of nowhere. They were on a road with 3 crosses by the side, each marking where a real person's life had ended because someone treated a car like a toy. They were yelling at me," she said. "They dragged me out. One of them threw me against the car. I'm covered in bruises, all because they didn't like that I was confident and because of who my mom is." The comments flooded in. "OMG, sue them. Typical power-hungry cops. Name and badge numbers. Queen, we got you." She edited the live stream footage she'd captured. The world saw a montage, blue and red lights. Delgado's stern face as he said, "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am." A frame of Rivera's hand on the door. A shot of Ava's leg, midway between car and pavement, tilted to look like she was being yanked. Cut, tears. Caption, "If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone." Her mother's office phone began ringing before 9 a.m. "Is it true?" Reporters asked. "Was your daughter attacked?" The chief of police's phone exploded with the other side. "Are your officers being thrown under the bus?" Union reps demanded. Online battle lines formed. People reposted her clip with angry emojis, calling the department out of control. Others, more cautious, said, "We don't know the whole story. They were right." It took 48 hours for the police department to get permission from the DUD to release the full dash cam. When they did, public opinion shifted. Not all at once, not cleanly, but enough that the threats to Delgado's family slowed. Enough that Rivera's teenage brother could go back to school without being sent screenshots of "your sister's a thug" every period. Enough that when the arraignment happened, this courtroom wasn't just full of people ready to crucify 2 cops. It was full of people ready to see what would happen when someone with a famous last name finally ran into something she couldn't edit. A judge who has heard it all, and was very, very tired of pretending not to be angry. So here we are, Miss Kensington, I said, after laying all of that out in language as neutral as I could muster. "Do you have anything you would like to say before I impose sentence?" She stood. Her attorney touched her elbow, like he wasn't entirely sure this was a good idea. "The cameras, because yes, this is a public proceeding and the media is allowed to be here locked in. She began, voice wobbling perfectly. "I just want to say I'm sorry if anyone felt disrespected." That non-apology word felt hung in the air, "but I also feel like this has been blown way out of proportion," she went on. "I didn't hurt anyone. I was just scared. I panicked. The internet made me into some kind of monster, and that's not who I am. I do charity work. I speak at events. I've used my platform for good. I don't think I should go to jail for one bad night and a sentence taken out of context. If anything, the context made it worse." I took a breath. I thought about the easy path, the one where I scold her, suspend her license, order some community service, and send her back up the hill to Crestview. And then I thought about every young defendant from Southside, from old mill blocks, from trailer parks on the edge of the county who'd stood where she stood after doing less and walked out in handcuffs. Justice, if it means anything, has to look the same from the cheap seats as it does from the front row. "Sit down," I said. She did. The room leaned in as I picked up my pen. "Miss Kensington," I began, "on the charge of operating under the influence. First offense, I find you guilty. The evidence is clear. Your speed, your behavior, your refusal to submit to testing. That is not just being young. That is dangerous." I could see her mother in my peripheral vision, staring down at her clasped hands. For that conviction, I continued, I sentence you to 18 months in the House of Correction. 12 of those months are suspended. You will serve 6. A ripple of noise moved through the gallery and was gone. Your driver's license is suspended for 2 years, I added. You will not drive any motor vehicle in this state during that period. If you are caught, you will return here and the suspended portion of your sentence will be activated. On the charge of reckless driving at more than double the posted speed limit, I sentence you to 1 year concurrent and fine you $2,000. On the charge of refusal to submit to chemical testing, your license suspension is extended an additional 6 months. On the charge of resisting arrest, 6 months concurrent. On the charge of assault and battery on a police officer, a felony in this jurisdiction, I sentence you to 2 years, 18 months suspended, concurrent with your sentence. You will serve 6 months in total custody for these offenses. Her face went pale. 6 months. To some people, that sounds like the end of the world. To others, it's less time than they spent waiting for a trial they couldn't afford to delay. In addition, I said, upon your release, you will complete 200 hours of community service, not behind a desk, not posting about causes. You will work at organizations that support victims of drunk driving, families in underserved neighborhoods, people whose lives don't have a safety net. You will attend and complete an approved alcohol education program. You will be subject to random testing for 2 years after your release. You will write, and this is not optional, a written apology to Officer Delgado and Officer Rivera, not a social media post, not a Finsta story, a letter in which you acknowledge what you did, why it was wrong, and what you intend to do differently. Those letters will be entered into the record. Finally, I said, voice softening just a fraction, you will record a statement, not a performance, explaining to your followers that the videos you posted after your arrest were misleading and unfair. You will state clearly that the officers involved acted within the law. You will leave that statement pinned on your profile for not less than 30 days. If you delete it early, if you post contradictory content, we will revisit the suspended portion of your sentence. Her mouth opened, closed. Her lawyer leaned over, whispering furiously. She nodded once. Yes, Your Honor, she murmured. I put my pen down. Let me be clear, I said, for her and for everyone watching. I am not doing this because I enjoy making an example of people. I am doing it because every time someone with a famous last name escapes real consequences, the message to everyone else is loud and clear. The game is rigged. I may not be able to fix that everywhere, but I can make sure that in this room, for this case, the rules are the same. I looked at her one last time. You told a police officer you don't exist on the same level, I said. In this courtroom, we all exist on the same level. That level is called accountable. The bailiff stepped forward as I lifted the gavel. Miss Kensington, I said, you are remanded into custody to begin your sentence immediately. The gavel came down. Court is adjourned. The crack echoed off the wood. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then the spell broke. Chairs scraped. People whispered. Reporters scribbled. 2 officers stood up a little straighter, and a young woman who'd spent her entire life insulated by power, money, and filters felt, for the first time, what it meant to be just one person in a chain of decisions, not above, not special, just human, subject to the same laws as everyone else, exactly as it should be.